All right.
Um, Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of The New Normal, where we host great people from different industries, different careers, and we talk about how the world will be in after pandemic situations. And this week, I'm so delighted that I'm having Goh from Paris, and I really like this opportunities because we generally don't talk too much, but when we have the opportunity, we also had some time discussing about the life and the business. So without further ado, Go, I didn't introduce you properly. The reason is you have different layers, and I want you to talk about yourself the way you want to talk about.
Okay. All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. I think this is a really relevant topic for us. Maybe not all of us are already post-COVID yet, so I think that it's a good timing to reflect on where we're going because I think the trajectory could take us in different places. So it's a really real pleasure, Khan. Thank you for inviting me here. Those of you who don't know me, which I think is most of you, my name is Goh Hirose, and I am Japanese, but I grew up in the United States, in Germany. So I've been moving around a lot in my life, and I think that's influenced a lot of the perspective I have on things. When people ask me, "What do you do?" I say I'm a creator, and I think I identify as an artist. Especially creating things with sound is something that I started very early on. And right now I work for a corporate enterprise. So there's this width in, I guess, the things I do, but they're all aligned to a single thing that I really focus on. And all throughout, like, I guess my professional career, I've been heading towards trying to make as many people happy as possible and trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. And I started out in entertainment, trying to, just as a child, as a performer, when I started music, I actually started on the piano. Performing in front of people, you'd see them smile. And I thought, yeah, I want to do this for a lot of people. But as many of you may know, the entertainment industry isn't just all like rainbows and sun and happiness. It's, it's like a machine that really is sometimes very, I would say, dry and not so warm and happiness-like. So, of course, the creation part I really enjoyed, and I thought, how can I apply these creative skills to other things? And I've always been into development, making programs or designing some kind of motion graphics, things like this. And when I first started out my career, this is back in 2000, so shocking, a while ago now. I tell my son that, I still feel young and everything. He must think, that like, yeah, I know you want to feel like that. But, I always try and attack like any kind of situation with this energy of doing it for the first time. And I think this creative background really helps me, especially in a corporate context.
Exactly.
So after doing music, I moved on to going into IT. And back in 2000, where I started out in a corporate environment, it was more about corporate IT architecture and implementing new systems, especially they were actually finance systems. And then I had that piece of like finance revenue management thing in my head, but I moved on to a music career and I started a platform that was about kind of matching needs for artists and also supplying them with different genres of artists. So musicians, painters, motion graphics people, people who did videographer work, and trying to do projects together. So this was a collaboration platform back when there was MySpace. It was kind of like just a bunch of links and search algorithms. Mm-hmm. But the business was really hard if you consider the fact that we had a huge earthquake in Japan, and a lot of the entertainment industry was like really maybe not as bad as now, to be honest, but it was really tough. And I thought I need to change direction. And then I went back to kind of more of a corporate work. And that led me to look for an organization that was really focused on like the ultimate goal I had. So how I do it was really through music, but what I really wanted to do and why I was doing it, this deep motivation was around making people happy. So I thought, let's look for an industry that can really empower people to reach their goals. And I ended up looking into finance. And right now, I work for BNP Paribas Group, and I think that they're very, how should I say it? they have a sustainable vision. And I think the fact that they've been around for so long kind of proves that vision, that they play the long game. And I think that vision, kind of a sustainable vision, is really important for a company. Even if you're just working for them as a consultant, maybe they're just a partner, but having goals that are aligned, or vision that is aligned, is very important for me. So that's where I ended up there. And I, have this artist background. I'm trying to, this is my room. So I don't go to the office like in this kind of atmosphere all the time. But now, because of remote work, I think more and more of like the real me is being shown to the world. So I guess this is a good chance to kind of, come out and show like my room.
Then I mean, definitely that's the point of this show as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, your background is much different than all of our guests so far, as you can imagine. And it looks much cooler because most of our guests have like libraries, which is great. And I love them. But having like microphone and the headphones and the background, and also guitars, it looks really, really nice.
It's a bass guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have different topics to talk, but I mean, I just might like to introduce like fintech and insurtech environment with the COVID era, because it's not about the pandemic that we are going to talk about, but it's a huge thing that happened to all of us, and everybody's kind of reframing what they are doing right now, business-wise or personal-wise. So I'm not just asking for like BNP Paribas Group, it's you as a person in this industry on the other side of your life. What do you think about happening over there? So maybe a little bit introduction.
Yeah, I guess, there's so much going on right now. I think there may be people who are saying, oh, this is the next trend, this is the wave of things that are going to happen. I'm definitely not one of those people that are going to predict the future, but maybe thinking of the people that are attending, kind of giving insight on like what's happening. Because of our group, that has presence in over 35 countries, there's really, I guess, a global scope of, I guess, the news we hear, colleagues that we see all around the world facing different types of challenges. What's very interesting is really seeing the different cultures and different personal lives responding differently to the situation. And, more than ever, I think that at a very fundamental level, the finance industry is kind of relied on to help people, like, for example, with unemployment insurance, to really keep on with their lives, protect their families, and really sustain that level of life that they paid to get. This is not to say that all financial firms are doing the right thing, and they're all role models. But I think that being in the midst of being kind of the pillar that's supporting some of these lives, it comes, I guess, to a lot of people, like a really in the face kind of reality that we're here, we have to act now and support people, whether it's managing their finances, maybe even at times like this, some people may need to do activities that require funding. They may not be able to repay loans. They may get sick and need some kind of insurance. So you see a lot of change like accelerating, and not always in the direction that you thought it was going to go before this situation came along. And we talk a lot about this, obviously. But I think one thing that we see is that a lot of people that didn't come together before, even in the small microcosm of society, which is the company and the groups in the company, you see a lot more different people coming together, trying to find a solution together, which is, despite all the horrible things that are happening, is very encouraging.
I mean, especially when you are working for an international company, you get to understand different economies as well, because you see different offices, how they're reacting to it, and how their economies or people's lives are depending on your company. I think we will be over. It will be over, even if it is going to be not the best way possible. Somehow this pandemic will go, like most of the disasters we live in our lifetime, like the earthquake in Japan. We had a huge earthquake in Turkey. Those kind of things will keep happening. And what I'm going to ask you is like, what is your point of view right now? Because as an artist, as a business person, you are trying to make things better, make people happier. So personally, what are you going to do for yourself in terms of, let's say, business-wise?
Hmm. Well, your question actually is like super wide. I don't know where to tackle it from, but let me just take the last part and what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there was this direction that we were going in, I think, in a lot of the transformation that we were doing. Recent topics have come up that I would say center around a lot of technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, some kind of new automation or digitizing certain kind of experiences, customer experience. We've always been talking about this,
Mm-hmm.
but I think right now everything is starting to kind of being questioned too. So what are we going to deliver in the end? Not just talking about best practices, but really trying to deliver something into the market to the customers. And I think in that sense, finding the right priority of what to work on. I think this is like the main focus for me right now. And I think for a lot of the teams around me, I think it's the same, because there were so many things happening before, and now the situation's changed, and not everybody knows where, well, maybe no one knows where things are going to go. And for example, are there going to be waves of infection, or has a country really exited this kind of situation? And so as we're scrambling, I think finding that priority together is really challenging. So one of the things that I think a lot of teams I see doing that I think is a good trend is really communicating, saying that this is what we're focusing on, this is the priority, or for example, these are 5 streams that we're going to focus on right now, and really being able to adjust that momentum that you had, right? And if you're a large corporation, I think that momentum is very, very strong, and it's very hard to pivot to something new. Just even if it's this huge pandemic, it's hard to change direction sometimes, and people have this tendency to try and do what they were doing because of that momentum, because so many people do it, because you did so many validation committees to get that project validated. Everybody's like, I have to finish this. But I think it's time where everybody starts being responsible for their own choices, their own actions and decisions, thinking, is this really what society needs right now? Is this what our customer needs right now? Then slowly going back to, is this what our team needs now? Is this what I need now? Yeah. And really making sure that those things, that chain really aligns. And having, I think, a mindset to see these connections, I think this is really important. Mm-hmm. And personally, for me, being a creator or being an artist really helps me in this process. And I like talking about this process, this thinking process, a lot, because I think it could be valuable for, I guess, this new world. And it's when painter. This is not painting by me. It's done by a very good friend called Yamede. He's a Japanese painter, and these are really intricate, cool designs. It comes from live painting collaborations we did a long time ago. But if an artist wants to create something like this, he comes from an idea. There's some inspiration. He processes it. He samples it. He goes through iterations of designs. Then finally, he has to draw this and put it and deliver it, right? And in a way, put this into production. So that whole work stream from conception to delivering to the market is all done. And then even after he paints this, he's going to go around the city, maybe market himself. There's and a lot of stuff he's never done before, and you see a lot of artists doing this, whether it's me in music or scoring for movies, things like this. All of this comes through this process. And being able to do that yourself out of nowhere, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have skills like this. But also in the corporate context, like bringing that natural way of thinking and being able to test and not being afraid to, in a way, expose yourself. Creating this or music or suddenly singing is exposing yourself. Not being afraid to do this and create. I think that kind of mindset is really important at times like this, where you really have to take action to really bring value to people.
I mean, I definitely agree. And
sorry, that was a super long-winded answer.
No. I mean, like bullying online aside, because it's one of the biggest problems over there. But
Tom, are you there?
Can you hear me? I can hear you now.
Okay, something is wrong.
Oh. Can you hear me?
I see nothing in the chat.
That's fine. I mean, if you can hear me, I can see the participants. There is no problem on that. Hello.
Okay, this is weird. Is somebody connected? I see the chat. If somebody's in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, people are writing.
We can still hear you. Okay, thank you, Cyril.
So, can you hear me?
Okay, cool. All right. I do see you there.
Okay.
Because it seems like Khan suddenly left. Maybe he didn't like my answer. I'm not sure.
No, I'm here. So what I was saying is, with bullying aside.
Sorry, I'm just asking him if he's okay. Okay. Wow. Oh wait, now I'm hearing the audio again. Okay.
No problems. Now you are connected with the audio?
Yeah, like
perfect.
Okay, that was weird. All right.
Don't worry. So what I was saying is like creative processes are really important, because this actually brings more meaning to our businesses, because even like something quite boring as like insurance itself, or when making a biscuit or a Coca-Cola, because there are like manufacturing processes, then you realize that a lot of different customers need something else. So your company actually quite valuable to this person because it touches their life. So we see that happen in every each of like product or services. So that kind of different layers of life somehow pulls over together and makes something beautiful. So I definitely believe that like building something with this kind of a creative process is great. And I think internet actually helped a lot of people, because everyone was kind of shyish about what they are building, and when other people see what they are dealing with or what they are developing or shipping, uh, they can actually find their own flock of people where they can actually nurture themselves and grow. So what I was going to ask you is like, since you were saying that there are also entrepreneurs coming to uh, coming to solve those kind of new problems that we're having. We were discussing this privately before, so my point of entrepreneurship is a little bit different after pandemic, because I really believe that it is good to have sustainable businesses. I'm not saying about like profit-wise or not necessarily impacting other people's lives, but creating something meaningful to a certain group of people, but not making it a billion-dollar company, still great business for me. So what do you think about entrepreneurship right now? Do you think that we will see different trends in entrepreneurship, even in like different verticals in insurance or something like that?
Yeah, you know, I really think it's important to kind of put into context what we're really trying to achieve when we build this billion-dollar industry or business, let's say. Not that that's bad at all, you know, because I don't want to go too off topic, but money, you know, what is money? It could be a manifestation of people's effort or trust, right? It could be, you know, like brands that you trust more, you would pay a higher premium. You know, this kind of trust they built through maybe the image or a reputation or the history of that company. That's why, you know, you would put more value into that company. You believe in a branded. That's why their stock price might go up. And, you know, if a company has a lot of money, maybe even a person, perhaps they've accumulated some kind of trust, or, you know, they bring a lot of value out of that I guess commitment people give to that person, right? So I'm not going to say it's always bad, but I really look, you know, to see like this situation, creating an environment where people kind of reflect on, you know, what got us here. You know, I'm not going to be like a scientist or someone that's going to take a political position on things, but, you know, there is no doubt that, you know, the course of humanity is going to be determined by the actions we take, right? And I think things that we did led us to the situation where we are today. And the economy freezing because of illnesses, because of perhaps illnesses that were triggered by the way that our food supply chain works, Maybe it could be because of our travel. Maybe it could be our manners towards being ill and wearing a mask or not. You know, all these things that we do lead to a consequence. And I think it's very easy to say that we're pursuing profit, we're pursuing profitability, and that seems like a long-term goal. But I actually think that, you know, there's a lot more stuff in play. Like one, a lot of people, more people are talking about this, but happiness of your employees,
Yeah.
you know, happiness of your team. You know, these keywords of happiness, you know, I've been saying this a lot, and, you know, maybe some people listening are like, oh, what's going on this topic of happiness again. But if you think about it, you know, I think a lot of businesses, they want to make their customers happy. And in turn, they would like to make society happy. And so I think, you know, if you were able to not be shy, I think a lot of people would mention that they want to make people happy. And then you realize that happiness is so different for every person. And it's very complex. It's very easy to say, but it's very happiness is very difficult, because one thing that makes one person happy could make another person unhappy, or it could be just, you know, shifting, making a person like work overtime for no pay, and then the boss would get all the profit and he would be happy. It's, you know, it could turn out like that. So finding that balance is difficult. So now I think it's more about communicating and really understanding what the needs are. What is it that people ultimately need? So sometimes, you know, businesses, and I think, you know, this is a constant topic of, I think, business owners or entrepreneurs going after profit or more investment in growing their company. I hope that this is an opportunity for people to think again, you know, and I hope people feel pressured to really seriously think, because of deaths that have been happening. And not just this, you know, whether it could be an earthquake or airline accident. Many bad things happen in our lives, and, you know, things we can't change. This is what you said, right? And I love these words. You know, things you can't change, you can't, you know, really complain about that. You have to figure out how to go to a better place from that. And I hope that companies start thinking about that and the complexity of the interconnectivity, and realize that profit is just like one dot. It's like one step to being able to deliver more value to society. And what is that value? We should question. Like, is a company always giving cheaper prices? Is that really contributing to society? Or just being eco and let's say, oh, let's not do any activity because maybe it's better. You know, I don't think these two extremes are right. I think finding that balance and communicating, getting better knowing yourself, better knowing your society. I hope that happens out of this situation. And I actually think that companies that are going to be more successful are going to have this kind of focus, as you see in past trends, like more attentive companies and more companies that actually, you know, take that concept, that idea, and bring it out into the world, and not be afraid of what may come back, and just take it as something that's going to make you better or make you happier, you know, and then use that as fuel to go do that next round, you know. So.
It's a new challenge, and we will see who will be up to tackle this challenge. And some people or some companies or startups will try to neglige what they've been facing so far. So I definitely believe that is going to happen. And I think like remote working situations that we are into right now will also enable communicating more, because it seems on the other side, it's maybe contrary, but when you are trying to build something online and you are not physically together, it is tougher to communicate. And then it makes you a better communicator, because you need to convey everything with maybe like voice or text or video. Otherwise, you can use your body language, you can use like environment, and it is tougher to do that, convey these ideas in this kind of online mediums. And I think it will make us much better communicator. There will be a lot of problems, misunderstanding. This is what we generally have, right? I mean, I'm sure that you had in your life too, some people sending you an email or an SMS that you definitely understand on the wrong way, definitely, because they didn't intend to say it, but there is no punctuation, there is no like light or high pitched voice. You are having trouble to understand. So I will ask our audience to ask any questions if they have. Otherwise, we already have like 27 minutes. I'm surprised it really passed so quickly. I asked you this question before. So we've been living a different life for a while. So personally, what do you experiencing for the last 3 months? And what are the things that you are going to try to keep in your life, even everything about pandemia will go away? So what are the behaviors or any kind of rituals that you've been doing since we are at home, locked down most of the time? What would you like to keep it in your pocket for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really was challenging when asked to, for example, deliver projects faster or in this complex communication environment, I think it comes back to what industry you're in. And for example, with music, or let's say with a painting, you can experiment all you want, and it's not gonna in a way hurt other people unless you do something very offensive maybe. But in terms of, I think, let's say insurance or finance, or let's say you're in an area of health or medicine, I think it's not that easy to, it's very easy to say, oh, you should test and learn. This is the way the new world works. I don't think that's possible in certain industries where there's regulation. Changing one underwriting rule, you'd have to go through maybe a medical check. You'd go through your team. You'd have to make sure that you can audit any kind of new process you create. Everything becomes a little bit more complex. And, as I see the company trying to rush and change things, even other companies, startups, they're trying to change the way they do things. I think at the same time that we go quickly, we also need to find the right pace to do things. And I think the timing of confinement and also the pressure to deliver during this kind of situation has a lot of downside too. And I think it's taught us to kind of pace ourselves, or to be really conscious of our pace, and that transformation or innovation is not always just about this delivery, although it's important, but really to do it in an effective way. So really understanding like the risk you're taking by doing a test or an iteration, or is this maybe a new vaccine? Should we be just delivering it and seeing what happens? It's different from saying, hey, today's song, let's just change up the chorus this time and see what happens. That might end up in a laugh. But if you're dealing with people's lives, you can't do that. So I think, this really conscious effort to slow people down who don't know the pace of going so fast sometimes, especially in these larger corporations. I think you as someone who can, for example, go very fast in experimenting, you'd have to slow them down in certain areas and say, whoa, we have a corporate architecture that we planned all these years. Maybe we should be following that to some extent and really finding a balance, not just throwing everything away just to go fast. So I hope, that scale of things and kind of knowing your position in this spectrum of speed of doing transformation, being conscious of that. I think I'll continue that positioning going forward too, because surprisingly, I found I'm rather more on the conservative side towards certain technological advance.
I mean, it is really great to hear something like that from you, because you are on the forefront of the innovation in the company as well. But still, doing innovation for innovation's sake doesn't work, because
No.
you need to understand as company what is your values are and what you are trying to deliver to people. And just to change or do something new doesn't make sense. And that confinement kind of gives people sometimes depression and sometimes mindfulness, that you can actually spend your time and talk to people and check the projects in a longer term. So I don't think that we will have any more questions, but I actually want to talk to you again, and maybe this time we will talk less about business, because I still enjoy business, but there are a lot of things that we can talk, and I really enjoyed even before the session that we had, because it's always a good chance to catch up with people like you. We cannot hang out so much, but this gives me a chance, and I'm really happy that you took it. So this week we will also share this session online on YouTube, and I would be happy if there's something coming up from questions from people's side, and definitely we'll share it to you. So do you have any kind of closing remarks for people who are listening to us right now, or sometimes?
I think we do have something.
Yeah. Yeah. Cyril was
Okay,
so
Cyril talking about APIs. Okay, yeah, this might be a kind of an inside joke, but you know, sorry, I'm gonna talk about that point a little bit, but I really think that like collaboration in insurance is not something that may be so easy. If you think of how the product is designed, and you'd have to project like, for example, things like solvency or being able to kind of protect that ability to pay that claims, right? It's really complex in designing that. So again, this is another point where I think we have to slow down sometimes and really understand ourselves. Like when I talked about happiness as a company, what is our corporate governance? What are our procedures to do things? Those things that kept you alive as a company to this point, we still need to protect those while doing that transformation. That awareness of who you are as a corporate is going to be very important as you try and innovate. And I think, you know, the startups that are engaging with also these corporates that are trying to transform, I think they should also be aware that, oh no, they're just big and slow. We should show them how fast we go. I think rather they should show the awareness of, you know, maybe like show us how you survive so long. What are the techniques that are taken? And a lot of it is structure that's not always dependent just on some person, but rather it's in a procedure, it's in a document, it's well written, you know, it's a rule, it's a law for the company. I think that balance is going to be really key. So
Cyril also wrote something else, and it's really cute. I'm really happy. And it's all about how interested you are for startups to make things happen. And that's the reason why we met, right? So we did a program together, and I was really appreciated at the time that you spend a lot of time with all of the startups, because you really do want people to achieve what they are planning to achieve. And that's a great personality to be around with. So I'm really glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because sometimes we cannot even see the visions that people see, but at most we can do is help them the questions that they have or our experiences to share, because most of the time this is what I say. I mean, some of the startups that we have today, most probably we wouldn't invest in it in terms of money or time, because we don't have the vision. We don't see the world as the founders see the world changing to. So sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't, but I also do appreciate and thank you for all the startups say. You are giving your personal time and effort to make sure that those people are doing something valuable for themselves, economy, and society. I think right now we are done, and
Okay.
we appreciate it and hope to have you back again. Maybe we'll have more sessions like this, because it's so fun. It's not that hard. So it's just sparing like half an hour. And I hope all of the audience are quite happy with our content today. If you have something to add, we can close with your remarks if you want.
Okay. Well, you know, first, thanks for everybody that attended today or watched this video. I really hope that we can find connections between the objectives that we all have as individuals, then as teams and as companies, then companies working together as society, countries, and maybe countries coming together and solving problems together. Because I think that really resolving something or bringing change or happiness that can last and having really a sustainable business is really about understanding each other and being able to work together. So I really hope that transformation goes in this direction. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share and talk.
I hope to see you soon. Take care. Stay safe in Paris, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, stay safe, everyone. See you. Thanks, Khan.
See you.
Bye.